This is the first video in a series that will cover all aspects of companions, starting off with the best way to level each skill. The second video will cover family, marriages, births, and succession, and in the final video we will cover wanderer companions, different roles, and lots of different builds for each. Get your calculators out, it's time for some Tailworld's math. Let's start from the top. We'll cover all the melee weapons in two categories, melee on foot and melee mounted. It doesn't really matter which of the three needs to be leveled, they're all the same when it comes to leveling up. If we have a companion that we want to increase their two-handed sword skill and they're on foot, we could gear them up and send them out with all of our troops and pray they get to the front line to get some kills and avoid getting murdered at the same time. However, I prefer a much more controlled and focused environment. We start with our main character equipped with a shield, the companion we want to train, and a desert hideout. Our main goal is to draw the attention of the enemy and allow our companion to get free hits. We picked the desert hideout for two reasons. There are no arrows or javelins, and because most enemies have a mace, so even if our companion goes down, it will be an injury most of the time. Feel free to kick or shield bash an enemy to distract him. It can get a bit hairy when dealing with 3 enemies at once or more, so feel free to help get a kill or 2 if needed. In this case, our companion has a two-handed sword and can one-shot most enemies, so it's not really a big deal. When it comes to the boss fight, we have 2 options. We can fight or retreat. Retreating from this screen will reset the enemy troops in the hideout and you can redo it again the next night. This raid took just over 3 minutes to complete and our companion racked up 12 kills, or 7100 two-handed and 7900 athletics base XP. Now we repeat the test, but for a companion focusing on melee and riding. Unfortunately, we can't bring our mounts into the hideout, so we switch up the strategy a bit. To pull this one off, we need to fight forest bandits and have a line of shielded infantry. We put our infantry in shield wall and march up to the archers. Be sure not to go too close, as that will aggro them into melee range. We can give our companions the charge command to set it and forget it, but I prefer to give the move command manually next to each archer. The AI is not always accurate while charging, but moving them next to the enemy will result in some quick and accurate strikes, ending the battle much faster. By the end, we lose no troops and our companion earns 5 kills for 3200 melee and 2100 riding base XP. Against a larger group of archers, the results could be even better. Moving on to the range skill on foot, we use a mix of the 2 previous tactics. We start with 8 shielded infantry and our companion with several stacks of ammo. The shield infantry move up in shield wall formation and the companion either shoots over the top or moves off to the side to get a clear shot. If our companion is missing consistently, we can reposition a bit closer to the enemy. Be sure to angle the shield wall such that each enemy cannot get a flank on us. If our companion starts to take arrows, simply redeploy them to the other side of the shield wall. The enemy will naturally move closer after each shot, but don't worry, as they generally stop outside of melee range. We just need to hold ground with the shields and buy time for our companion to wreak havoc. This time around, we decide to retreat before the final boss fight. Our companion shot down 10 forest bandits for a total of 9400 bow and 15,000 athletics base XP.
Very nice.
Finishing off the combat skills, let's look at the range skill while mounted. There are a few good ways to do this, but I find the most efficient at leveling up a specific companion is to repeat the previous mounted tactic. The shield wall moves up to distract the archers, while our companion looses death from the side. Be sure not to position the companion directly behind the shield wall, as arrows that overshoot the shield wall will hit our companion. Another 5 kills for 5500 throwing and 4100 riding base XP. It's even easier to do with a bow or crossbow because the range and extra ammunition. For the same 5 forest bandits, we gain 3200 bow and 4400 riding base XP. Keep in mind, the further away from the target our companion is landing shots, the more XP they will gain. For the endurance skills, we already covered both riding and athletics, so let's look at smithing. There really isn't anything special here, just be aware that all smithing actions can be done by companions: smelting, crafting, refining, and completing orders. In order to use other companions in the party, click on the character picture in the bottom left, then select who you wish to use. Be sure to craft and smelt high-value weapons for the most XP. Scouting is one of those skills that is surprisingly easy to level up for a companion. There are 2 passive ways to do it: sending them to lead a caravan or leading a party of their own. If you want to have a more active role and get it done faster, simply set the companion as the party scout. Load up on cavalry units, move through forests that aren't covered in snow, and be around as many other parties as possible to spot their tracks. High bandit zones like this one work well, or terrain with choke points like most of Botania. Spoiler alert, this next skill is the worst to level in the game. Tactics has always been a bit of a meme, but it can be very helpful in companions since AI versus AI battles only uses auto-resolve. I started by running our main character into the enemy line to see if any of our companions would get the tactics XP after we went down. Turns out neither our same party companions nor the other party leaders get anything. Next, we try to force a battle for our companion-led party by giving him 100 cavalry units, cornering an enemy and releasing him within range. A little bit of Tailworld's maths, and he scampers off to do something else more important rather than crushing this significantly weaker party. Gotta love it. I tried it again, and oddly enough, he eventually turned around to give chase. This used to work really well, but the AI might have been changed in 1.8 to be passive upon being released from an army. Even after smashing this small group, he only gained 290 base XP. For the final test, we give our companion in the same army all of our troops and do our best to get murdered by these archers. We easily win the battle and our companion gets all of the tactics XP. All 218 of it, that is. Now for Roguery, arguably one of the easiest to level now in 1.8. It used to be the case that we could give all of our prisoners to a companion party, enter a town, and get a ton of Roguery XP for that companion, but it turns out they now drop prisoners off in the dungeon instead of ransoming them. I repeated the test while owning the town just to make sure the prisoners are indeed in the dungeon. Fortunately, we can level Roguery now by raiding caravans while in a clan party only army. We can increase the XP further by recruiting bandit troops and transferring all of our units into the clan party before the fight. In this case, our companion earned 11 levels of Roguery from a single battle.
Warning: if you're triggered easily by exploits, please skip the next 30 seconds.
If you want to really level Roguery fast, we repeat the same process as before, but instead of raiding a caravan, we sell very expensive items to an enemy village, wait outside for the villagers to leave with our sold loot, and attack them. In this case, our companion gained 303 Roguery levels, as well as 8 main character levels. Move over smithing, there's a new sheriff in town for leveling up. Charm is pretty straightforward. All we need to do is dump companions off in a town or castle and they will passively gain XP through RNG. We can increase relations with notables for more recruiting slots this way or increase relations with the clan that owns the fief. It's completely RNG, so it's best to leave them for a while. Vivian gained 28 levels in a single event, going well and above her hard cap. Rylan gained 29 levels and almost reached the hard cap. For the longest time, leadership was the most painful skill to level for companions. With 1.8, it's no longer the case. First, let's go over how it used to be. Recruiting units and prisoner units. We dump all units into our main party and let each clan party recruit their own troops from towns and villages. A few days later, and everyone has reached their unit limit. Isilkred gained 390 base XP, Sevilar gained 700, and Wohan gained 1000. At this rate, it can take in-game years to break past level 100. With the new method, we can simply create an army with our companion, attack an enemy party, transfer all troops to them, ignore going over the party size limit since time will not be unpaused, and enjoy all the levels. With this method, we gained 2200 base XP and didn't take an entire week to do it. I wanted to show you a quick bonus for leadership. I call it the prisoner factory technique. In order to make this work, we need a companion party in our army. After we collect some of the prisoner types that we want to recruit, we donate prisoners to that party, taking care not to go over their prisoner limit. Also be sure to give only one unit type per companion to ensure prisoner conversions are more efficient. It's very important that we don't enter a castle or town when doing this with our companions, as they will dump prisoners into the dungeon. If we need to go into town, simply disband the army outside, enter the town, take care not to allow time to pass, then exit, and call the parties back into our army. Be sure each group has at least 60% of their unit cap, otherwise they will not be able to join the army. We start on Autumn 2nd, 1084, and for 70 days, we're able to convert 73 Tier 6 Fian champions. Not only did it not cost us a morale hit since our companions did all the conversions, but they also gained 2100 leadership XP each. There used to be a way to assist our companions and family members with tons of trade XP, but it seems 1.8 they were all patched out as we can no longer trade with our own caravans or clan parties. For now, the best way to level trade is to start a caravan. This companion started with 61 levels of trade. We let 1 year pass and measure his progress, up to level 92 now, or roughly 27,000 base XP. Not bad at all. Caravans now have a much higher survival rate in 1.8, so it's a great way to level up. This just in, we have breaking news. Let's go live to a reporter in the field, Sir Humpsalot. Tailworld's patched out being able to trade with our own caravans, but have yet to close the loophole for bartering.
That's right. You can't barter with wanderer companions at any point, but you can barter with family members once you're part of a kingdom. The trick is to gift a lot of equipment, which Tailworlds takes these items to be 0 cost. Then items are sold in town for full price and trade XP skyrockets. Tailworlds map is still alive and well. Back to you guys.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of them in the next episode on families and making babies. Steward has a few ways to level up, but some are much more efficient than others. Placing a companion as a governor does grant some XP, especially when a project completes, but it's still not very much. Leading a clan party can help some, but I struggled to get them to buy enough different food types to make meaningful progress. Instead, I find that assigning the companion as our main party steward and stocking up on all food types to be the best. I like to rotate companions in every month or so until their XP caps out, then allowing them to lead their own party afterwards with a bigger party size. Now for some more pain. Medicine comes in at a close second to tactics for the worst skill to grind out. Fortunately, there are still a couple ways to efficiently level it with our companions. These techniques require that we can make a clan party, and it's significantly easier if we can call them into an army. The first method involves starving our troops and then passing off the injured ones to our companion who does have food. We can open the dialogue to donate troops and make sure that they only have injured troops in their party. It's a bit tricky though, since our movement speed is low with injured troops and low morale. After healing about 100 troops, our companion has gained a base 1400 XP. If we're able to call them into an army, our task becomes much easier, as we don't have to worry about our companion getting away from us. Be sure to camp outside of a village or town to restock on food afterwards. My favorite way to level medicine is very similar to how we do it with our main character. Start an army, get into a fight, transfer all troops to our companion's party, win the battle, distribute uninjured troops back to the other parties to avoid going over the party size limit, and profit. Not only does our companion get the XP from healing the injured troops, but they also get the injury and death XP from battle. In this case, our companion gained just under 3000 base XP. And finally, we come to engineering, which saw a huge change recently. We will cover two methods here: siege defense, which is unreliable but incredible when it works, and siege engine dueling, which is consistent but slow. Let's start with siege engine duels. We need to appoint our companion as an engineer for the party and be leading the army in charge of the siege. We get XP for each siege engine we build, as well as enemy siege engine kills. The fastest way to gain XP is to fight against ballista and build our own ballista. If you start a siege and the enemy is making onager, we can exit the siege and try and start it again until they start making ballista, since it's RNG. You can still fight against onager, it's just a bit slower for XP gain. Using this method, our engineer went from level 80 to 94, gaining 14,000 base XP in 16 days, or just under 1,000 XP per day. Like I said, it's not great, but it works every time. The other method is through siege defenses. The challenge here is getting our companions isolated and operating a siege engine, since sieges tend to jumble all groups once the fighting starts. If we don't assign any special groups, it's extremely unlikely that our companions will eventually man a siege engine. I found the most reliable way is to clear out the garrison and our own party of certain modifiers such as high tier armor or a throwing weapon. Militia will have shields and polearms, so those two filters will not help us out. In this case, our companions have decent armor and we can filter by that. Through many tests, I found ballista to be more reliable than catapults. For this example, I cleared all the units from groups 5 through 8 and made them for infantry only, added the filter for higher tier armor, adjusted the slider until a couple units were in the group, and then locked it. By zooming in, we can confirm that our companions are the only ones in that group. By hovering our mouse over the siege engine, you can see the symbol turn into 3 cogwheels. Be sure to left click the siege engine, as you don't want them to simply walk away as soon as the siege starts. Once we've set up all the groups we want, we let the battle commence. In this siege, the 2 outer ballista were abandoned by our companions for some reason, but the 2 near the main gate stayed occupied and put in some really good work. If you have a shield on you, this can be a great chance to provide cover for our companions. Sevalar went over the hard cap to level 23, and Pacarios went up to 46 without having any focus points in engineering. Finally, if you do get a companion on an onager, but they are not in the firing position, they will not get XP. So be sure to kick the AI off of their job, then leave the onager, and with some luck, our companion will slide over and take the firing position. In this case, Boran landed 8 kills after a couple volleys. If the enemy clumps up in shooting distance, then it can be amazing. But I still find ballista in general to do more damage due to less restrictive range and having infinite ammunition. Up next, we will be covering family, marriage, making babies, legacy management, and so much more, so stay tuned. Gently caress that like button. We'll see you on the next guide. But don't worry, by leveling a little bit will roar and to ensure He's very nice.